Mr. Speaker.
Rajan Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a couple of corrections. The chair of the last Social Service Select Committee was Katrina Shanks, and I wanted to acknowledge her work in the last Select Committee, and she actually worked very inclusively with us. This was essentially a government inquiry proposed by government members, and we went along with it. The second point I wanted to make was that this inquiry was essentially finished and ready to be presented to this House at the end of the last Parliament. But for some strange reason, it wasn't. There's no work to be done, there's no explanation given. So the current Select Committee has only simply kept it boiling for a little bit, and then now we're presenting it. But this was an inquiry, Mr. Speaker, into three aspects of child offending: identification, rehabilitation and care. And everything we know from research and from experience tells us that unless we have a comprehensive system, an integrated approach to each aspect of that system, and each aspect that's well designed, unless we do that, unless they're well integrated, the care and protection needs of children met well, unless we have all those pieces together, the system will not work. And in fact, if we look at the recommendations of this inquiry, there are 25 recommendations, and they're quite serious and far-reaching recommendations. What that points is to the fact that this inquiry did not find such a system. We did not find an integrated system or a system that is actually working well. At each stage of the process around young offenders, child offenders, there is much more to be done. And our recommendations actually point to that. My suspicion is that if we went at the moment into any other aspect of care and protection or the child welfare system and shine a torch on it, we'll find similar kinds of shortcomings, because there's something that is quite wrong with the system, quite broken with the system, that needs a major review. And I suspect that what this inquiry has shown to me is that it's identified some of that. If we look at identification, what we found was that there were many opportunities for cases to be identified early, whether it was in our schools or even preschools, but somehow that wasn't done. And the system was not tight enough, was not integrated enough to say that we could take advantage of all of the opportunities that we have, that the system has, that many systems have, to identify this kid. So the first recommendation under that one is that we recommended the government that required government agencies to focus on the risk and protective factors identified in this report. And we don't do that. We don't bring together the knowledge base around what are the key indicators and actually use them in everyday interaction with our young people. What we do is we wait till something really blows over. So that notion of early intervention is really, really important. And it's an important aspect of this report. We need to also ensure that we identify what the government identifies, what the accountabilities are of government agencies. So who's going to do what, and to what extent will they be done? When we go to the current rehabilitation system, that was another aspect of what the committee was asked to look at. This, again, really quite a serious shortcoming, is that the bulk of the programs are not evaluated. So how do we know that these things are actually working? So there are a number of recommendations here around that. When we also look at the care and protection system, Mr. Speaker, it was really quite a serious experience for me, well, a worrying experience for us as a committee, when the family court actually did a mock of a number of cases. And we found how the system prevaricates. They can keep a case going for months and months and months, a year and beyond. And that has to be fixed, because and the system is not integrated, and I'm sure Charles Cheval, my colleague, will talk about that. So in the end, and we didn't have time to really look at the effectiveness of the care and protection system well enough. So, Mr. Speaker, what this report presents is that the system is good in parts. There are lots of things that need to be done with it. The recommendations are quite serious, and they ought to be addressed. Now that Katrina Shanks is here, I did acknowledge your work as chair of the last Select Committee, where all of the work of this committee was done and completed, but not presented for some strange reason. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Tim McIndoe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Prasad has just stolen my